Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Tehillim Treasures, where we will plumb the beautiful depths and treasures of Tehillim from the very beginning of Tehillim to the end of David HaMelech's masterpiece. This episode is brought to you by Chazaq. Chazaq is an organization that helps public school children become Shomrei Torah mitzvahs, exposes them to the beauty of Torah and mitzvahs. Imagine for a moment you're standing in a store or you're walking down the street. You know the neighbor. You've known them for many years. You see their children riding their bike in the driveway. And you know they're Jewish. But now there's someone who can help them take the next step. And that is Chazaq, with countless programs after school and other wonderful programs to help expose them to the beauty of Yiddishkeit. If you know someone or know someone that knows someone that can help these children, then please email at psty@chazaq.org. This episode is also brought to you by Chickens for Shabbos. Chickens for Shabbos is exactly what it says it is, plus more. There are many people. There are Melamdim's children. There are Agunis. There are Grushis. There are families that do not have simple essentials for Shabbos and for life. Whatever they need, Chickens for Shabbos is there to provide. Please do your utmost to help in any way you can. We now begin with the next two chapters in Tehillim, Kapitel Pei Aleph and Kapitel Pei Beis, Mizmor Pei Aleph and Pei Beis, in this journey through David HaMelech's timeless treasures. Lamatzeach halagitis la'osaf. And this kapitel, this 81st kapitel of Tehillim, should sound very familiar to us because we say it every Thursday. It's the Shir Shel Yain. And it focuses on the shofar. And the Radak says that it was said in the Beis HaMikdash on Rosh Hashanah. I believe the Gaon also says that it should be said on Rosh Hashanah. And Tiku Rachoyde Shofar Bakesel Yom Chagenu Ki Choykli Yisrael Hu Mishpat L'Elokei Yaakov. We blow the shofar, and it is the pasuk that is the centerpiece of Kiddush on Rosh Hashanah. So, a beautiful story is told of Rabbi Nechemia. He lived in Delintz, which was a city in the Ukraine. And he always blew shofar on Rosh Hashanah. He was the Baal Tekeah. He was a learned man, he was a tzaddik, and he oversaw the Erev, the mikveh, and the other different communal necessities. One year, he walks into shul and his face is ashen white. After davening, he revealed that he went to take the shofar out of its case. It was cracked. And the shofar shenizdak, the crack ran across the entire shofar, and because of that, it was puzzle. Rabbi Nechemia didn't know what to do. And he didn't know. It was Rosh Chodesh Elul, and he didn't know it's going to have a shofar. It's going to have a shofar in time. He bought himself a ram, he removed both of its horns, and he was preparing them. Both of them cracked. Now, he didn't know what to do. He was afraid this is a very, very bad siman. What's going to be? He had tremendous worry, and he spent the whole month doing tshuva, trying to figure out what is the message. A few days before Rosh Hashanah, a guest comes to his home and he welcomes him with open arms. He prepared him meals. The fellow seemed nervous. He insisted they had something to take care of. It couldn't wait another second. Rabbi Nechemia tried to calm him down. Nothing worked. He said, listen, I sell small trinkets for a living. I go from village to village. And as soon as I arrived in one town, a group of wild and unruly thugs surrounded me. They brought me to the priest. The priest was sick, and he instructed the townspeople to bring him the first Jew that they could find. I didn't know what they wanted me to do. I was very, very nervous. I was very worried, and I was very scared. They brought me to his room, and he said to me in a very low, hushed tone, he said that there is a Jewish child living in his home, and he wants to give him back to his people. A child had been kidnapped, And he says, I can only return the child to a Jew. Rabbi Nechemia was terrified. He got into his wagon. He ran over to the nearby village. He ran to the home of the priest. And as soon as the priest saw the rabbi, he told him, listen, I dreamt that they were bringing me to heaven. And as I was coming, a rabbi came over to me with a stick and he said, as long as you're holding a Jewish boy, you're never going to be able to come to heaven. You're going to have to go to the other place. When I woke up, I didn't know what it meant. But then I realized, years ago I adopted a young Jewish child. I named him Anton. His father and the rest of his family were killed by non-Jews. Take him, teach him, make him understand where he comes from, who he is, and how he could possibly grow into becoming the Jew that he was meant to be. The old and frail priest stood up, he walked over to a cabinet, and he removed something from inside, and he handed him a shofar. Rabbi Nechemia broke down crying, and the priest spent some time with his adopted son, and he told him, listen, you're not mine. You were originally an infant, I adopted you. It's time for you to go find your people. He lay down in his bed and he died. Anton began to cry, what do I do now? Where do I go? Rabbi Nechemia told him, you were born a Jew and I'll help you find your way back home. Come with me. Rabbi Nechemia turned to the village and he came back with Anton. A few days later, he stood at the bima. Standing next to him was Anton. And the teenage boy who didn't even know which way to hold the machzor. He stood there as Rabbi Nechemia blew the shofar. A child was coming home. A Jewish child was coming home. Every year we blow the shofar. Every year Hashem stands there and he says, where's my child gone? To the shofar, we're able to find our way back home. Had Hashem never cracked the shofar, he would have never found a new one. But through this incredible story, Anton was able to find his way back home. We move on to the next kapitel, Mizmor Pei Beis. And in Mizmor Pei Beis, we have Mizmor La'osaf Alekim Nitzav Ba'adas Kel. Once again, this is the kapitel for Yom Shlishi, a Shir Shel Yom. You know, this kapitel speaks about judgments. And Rashi says that Hashem stands in the midst of the judges to see if they're judging honestly. We don't realize that a person must always not only judge others favorably, but sometimes to judge himself favorably as well. We look down upon ourselves and we don't believe in ourselves. And sometimes we think, you know what? Who are we? What abilities do we have? What can we possibly become? Listen to this remarkable story. I just heard the story recently, and I'd like to share it with you. It's a story that happened with Reb Shmuel Vosner. Reb Shmuel Vosner was the Posek Hadar. Reb Shach and the Steipler going used to go to Reb Vosner to ask them their shilas. Believe me, they knew good and well the halacha, but they wanted to clarify it. But Reb Vosner, surprisingly, did not have an easy journey. Reb Vosner learned in Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, which was an outstanding yeshiva, the best of the best. Initially, he was told that he can't come to yeshiva. He didn't get in. But he didn't go home. He went to the Beis Medrash to learn, and Rabbi Yechiel Spero tapped him on the shoulder and he said, you know what? Did you not understand? We told you that we think it's better if you come back in a year from now. He says, I know, but until then, until the train comes, I want to sit and learn. And they said, okay, now we'll accept you. And they did accept him. But he didn't have it easy. Fast forward to when Reb Shmuel Vosner was the Posek Hadar. One day his grandchildren are rummaging through the desk drawers in his home, and they find a pile of letters. And on those pile of letters, there were tshuvas. There were responses that were written by none other than Reb Shmuel Vosner himself many, many years earlier, and it was signed as Shmuel Vosner, the Am Bezdin of Lodz. That was shocking to them. Am Bezdin of Lodz, They didn't know that he ever lived in Lodz. They certainly did not know when he was the Av Bezdin of Lodz. Somebody built up the courage and they asked him. And this is what he said. When I was in Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, there were mitzuyonim. There were outstanding young Talmidei Chachamim. And I wasn't so outstanding. I didn't feel very good about myself. So I decided I'm going to write shilas and I'm going to send them. And I sent the shilas to myself. And I wrote the tshuvas to those shilas. I wrote the responses. And I signed it with the hope and the aspiration that one day maybe I can become the Av Bezdin of Lodz. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, we are good. We're very good. We have to believe in ourselves. We have the hopes and dreams and aspirations to become who we're meant to become. So as Hashem judges us and we judge others, and we have to judge others favorably, always remember, most importantly, to judge yourself favorably as well. And if we believe in ourselves, we can accomplish anything. Until next time, sei gesund.